Hello, I'm Philip Stoten, and recently I was lucky enough to moderate a debate hosted by SIPLACE at the opening of their facility in Suwanee, Georgia. Amongst the distinguished panel from the industry, academia and government was Ken Disbrow, founder of Public Knowledge LLC. I asked Ken what government was doing to support US competitiveness in electronic manufacturing.
The government's kind of focusing on three things. They're focusing on R&D, and that's through things kind of circuitous investment, things in like NASA, where we just recently saw Elon Musk's company, sent the first private sector shuttle to the space station, and they invest in that. Infrastructure, which, things that affect us in numerous ways. So not only roads, but things like the electronic grid system that's starting to come out now, the new smart grid system, which is going to affect you guys because it's going to change the way you think about use of electricity in your machines and probably be able to lower costs if it's done correctly. And the last piece, and I'm not the expert on this piece, but it's certainly education. The government's pushing education. So those are the things that they're trying to do to help us.
Alongside Ken was Dr. Ramkumar, who runs the Center for Electronic Manufacturing and Assembly at RIT, Rochester's Institute of Technology. Dr. Ramkumar gave us an insight into academia's engagement with government.
From our perspective, from the electronics industry perspective, if you really look at it, at least in New York State, and I'm sure it's the same in many of the states, as I was just mentioning a few minutes ago, most of the investment they seem to be making is more in the chip fabrication and the sexy stuff, the fancy stuff, but they never talk about what happens to the chip. If it has to get into a product, it has to be packaged at different levels. Nobody wants to talk about the packaging or fund any of those kinds of education or developmental activities that need to take place in the packaging side. So that's what we have been struggling with. The government, New York State has been dumping billions of dollars in Albany to further enhance the chip fab in Albany University, but we have been telling them that, hey, we need to invest more into the packaging area. They just don't want to do that. They're not thinking about it. But some good things that we are starting to see is the senators and the congresswomen in New York, in our area, have been starting to talk more and more about manufacturing within the US. So they conducted several symposiums on campus to bring industry into the campus and talk about manufacturing and how we need to grow manufacturing. That's a good sign. That's a positive sign that we're starting to see now.
I also asked Dr. Ramkumar to talk a little about their engagement with industry and the challenges they face.
So RIT has a long-standing philosophy of interacting quite a bit with industry in terms of co-op arrangements where students go every 6 months into industry to get a hands-on experience, come back, take 6 months worth of coursework, then go back out and all that. So our placement record is pretty high. We have traditional engineering and engineering technology programs, and if you look at the traditional programs, there's always job opportunities for them, but some of the specialized things where you have so much interdisciplinary nature to the electronics industry, a traditional engineering program or engineering technology program is probably going to produce only one particular kind of candidate. But the manufacturing program, if you really look at it, is where they get the business background, they get the mechanical and the electrical background, and some of the statistical knowledge base that's needed and all that, materials background and all that. But what's happening is, as we all know, manufacturing is a dirty word. We cannot even use that. In our recruitment, if we use it, we'll turn off everybody and nobody will be there in the audience after a while, right? Of parents and kids who want to pursue a career. But since the government has started talking about some of these, we are starting to see a little bit of interest, but it's already a little too late. Because many of the feeder schools, which were the community colleges that used to feed our programs, have nobody coming into their manufacturing program, so they've pretty much closed the doors on the manufacturing programs. So now it's becoming more of a challenge for us to get some of these students. And the ones that we get are really good, they are really interested in manufacturing, they want to go into that field. So for example, our undergraduate program sometimes attracts 8 to 10 freshmen, and then the rest of it is probably some transfer students from other colleges. Each of these students will get at least 3 or 4 job opportunities, and they get to pick one. But then after that, all these companies come back to me and hound me for more people because they know what kind of training that they come out with. And for example, the relationship that we have had with Siemens has helped us over the past 10 years establish an electronics packaging manufacturing curriculum. So we are able to bring students out with the complete process experience and to some extent a research experience. So right from day one, they can hit the road running without having to undergo any additional training. And Plexus is an example of where one of our students have gone in as a process engineer. And you brought up the point, Steve, about manufacturing program. Nobody encouraged us a long time ago, even 20 years ago. But the manufacturing program has basically kept up in terms of, at least some of the manufacturing programs like ours. We started out being a traditional manufacturing program, moved into the automation, robotics, and all that, then slowly migrated into the electronics packaging because it took advantage of the automation and everything. And so it has been a pretty good move for us in terms of being able to place the students. But getting students is going to be a big thing.
Yeah. Wrapping up a fascinating session, Ken Disbrow talked a little about the protectionist nature of the industry and the challenges we will likely face moving forward.
We're in essence, not only us, but South America, China, we're creating trade wars is what's going on, and it's going to be more and more cutthroat is the bottom line. Every country is going to try and do things that are either protectionist from importing goods or protectionist from an importing goods perspective, and trying to promote the export of goods outside of the country. So this is a little depressing, but I see this continuing, and I really don't see a stop to it. And it happens both within the United States. I was talking with somebody earlier about the Boeing company in Seattle, which used to be exclusively in the Washington area, broke off and came down here to the southeast. And the two, it was sad to see two states fighting over the same company, but it's happening in an international basis. You all know this. This isn't rocket science. But unfortunately, there's little we can do at the moment, and it's going to continue, and it's going to continue to shrink those margins that you're talking about, because everybody's going to be trying to eke out or just get a little better price on things, and it's good, simple economics. So it's sad and it's a little depressing, but be prepared. Continue. There's going to be a continued kind of trade war, I think, going on for the foreseeable future, and it'll get as other countries become more consumer oriented. So as China, with their standard of living rising, suddenly they're using iPhones and those sorts of things. That'll continue. We'll see that exacerbated.